Just to let you guys know if you didn't, I make handmade plushies on my Etsy store. You can check them out in the description below. I've already done a live stream on this topic, which I have re-uploaded, but some people wanted me to make a more concise and structured video, so I will. Angelika Oles is a tea-style channel talking about drama and online controversy, but she does have a problem when it comes to listening to minority groups and actually taking criticism from, well, anyone. I'm going to go over some things that happened earlier this year, and some people may say, why are you talking about this? This is stale tea, it's cold tea, we've already been over this. However, there are certain things that I have learned in the last couple of weeks, which has shown that she definitely hasn't learned anything from this. Angelika made a response video to everything that she's been accused of and the drama surrounding her that occurred earlier this year. It wasn't good. I'm just going to say that. It wasn't very good. One of the things that she apologised for was blocking black people on Twitter for correcting her about black issues. The reason that she was being contacted by black people to correct her on things was regarding something she said about one of the Kardashians. They were accused of blackfishing, which is something the Kardashians have historically been accused of and proven to have done. Blackfishing is when a non-black person appropriates aesthetic aspects of African American culture. And I say this because obviously there are more cultures than just one in black communities. The community of Nigerians are going to be very different than the community of, for example, Jamaicans. Of course, though, this is more likely to appropriate the populated image of black people in said country, therefore what they think black people are like based on African Americans, or what British people would think of black people based on popular African British people in their media, and therefore will appropriate certain aspects of them because they like the aesthetic. Tanning themselves to almost an unrecognizable skin tone, curling their hair so unnaturally to make an afro, perhaps even using words and phrases associated with African descendant groups. The problem herein is that African descent people in majority white countries are oppressed by the system. We've seen this time and time again, and we don't need to get into a massive debate about it because we know it's a thing. They get to appropriate all of these things from black culture without having any of the real life consequences black people have for simply being black. They get the aesthetically pleasing dark skin without having to have the lived experience of somebody who has dark skin. In response to this, Angelika said, "It's like the Kardashians live in people's heads rent-free."
I did make some jokes. I said, like, she lives in people's heads rent-free, and that there are losers making these fake news stories, which I've noticed a lot of the time that it's not black people doing this, it's sometimes white people that just try to, I guess, make a joke out of a situation, but it actually just takes attention away from the actual issues of the situation. So I guess in my head, when I said living in your head rent-free and losers and all of that stuff, loser behavior and all of that I said, at no point did I think I was saying that to black women.
As if people were making a massive mountain out of a molehill and it wasn't a big deal, when it is. In response to this, people decided to tell Angelika that she was wrong, and she blocked them. Her defense of this, she thought they were white, or white-passing people. But then she goes on to show some of the Twitter avatars for some of these people, and they are clearly not white. So it's not my apology to accept, but I think generally and objectively it is a weak apology because clearly you weren't just blocking people who looked white or people you thought were white. Now I'm going to deep dive into something that I can with confidence talk about because I am Jewish, ethnically, not religiously, so keep that in mind throughout the next part of this video. Angelika was accused of being anti-Semitic, and I'm going to go on to some of the reasons why she was accused of this and why her response itself was anti-Semitic. I'm not sure which of these came first, but you can watch the two videos I link down below made by my dear friend Jessie Quinn, where they go over these two instances in particular. The first reason why Angelika was accused of being anti-Semitic is because she saw a Snapchat story, a Snapchat series, in which a person was doing a theatrical reenactment of what a 1940s event would be like if Snapchat existed at the time. Angelika reacted to this and said it was disgusting and she thought it was somewhat trivializing the event.
So recently I went on Twitter and I saw this, which is Snapchat did something. Snapchat's always doing something. I don't have Snapchat anymore, so I just had to see this on Twitter. But they did a what if a girl in the Holocaust had Snapchat. For like, you know, they had the like awareness time now. I'm not sure what the exact dates were, but it was sometime in January. They had a lot of like celebrations for the people that went through it. People, you know, spoke up if they survived it. They spoke up about the whole situation if they have any relatives that went through it. It was just a time to basically just say this was a time in our history and we will never repeat it again. And Snapchat decided to, instead of paying tribute to the people that survived, people that went through it, people that came out alive, or they decided to do a what if a girl in the Holocaust had Snapchat, and posts included a girl saying they took my cousin to Poland, and then a picture of Hitler, and this is the evil man who sent my cousin to Poland. Okay, that's all the ones I have on here. I'm sure there were more. How disgusting is that? Am I the only one? No, I can't be the only one. Disgusting. This is absolutely grim. I don't even have to explain to people why that is gross. Wow, this Snapchat really did something there.
Not knowing that this series was created by a Jewish person. The event education is very lacking in many different countries across the globe, and therefore utilizing social media to teach people about the event would be very useful. In this case, I think it was just a demonstration of Angelika's severely lacking knowledge when it comes to researching. I myself, at the very least, don't believe this in itself is anti-Semitic, although not doing your research, which leads you to calling a Jewish person telling the story of the event that impacted their family and their people disgusting, that's pretty bad, and you should probably have researched more about this subject before talking about it. Ironically enough, my dear friend Jessie Quinn tried to educate Angelika about this, was blocked on Twitter.
This was, I'm going to assume, just a mistake that was made due to lack of research, but her response to Jewish people was anti-Semitic. As for myself, because I can speak about my personal experience, I commented on not just the video where she mentioned the Eva Stories from essentially a year ago. It was January of 2020, because that's when Remembrance Day is. I then also tweeted at, because I just thought like she should say something and see it, and I also DM'd her. As a result of that, she blocked me.
We're blocking black people, and now we're blocking Jews. We seeing a pattern here? The next thing the Jews took issues with is the fact that Angelika referred to organised religion as a word I can't say, but rhymes with smolty.
Everyone knows my opinions on religion, and here is just more proof as to why I don't agree with religion. At least not organised religion, but organised religion is some of the most I've ever seen, and that is the tea on that.
This is a problem. 2 reasons why people may view organised religion as smolty is number 1, the idea that a person must follow the way of a particular religion or they will burn in hell, or 2, the idea that members of organised religion must convert others. These are 2 of the most common reasons why people think organised religion might be a bit smolty. Problem: Judaism is one of the biggest organised religions in the world, and Jews don't even have an official concept of the afterlife. Jews don't believe in hell. Secondly, Jews don't proselytize. Jews do not ask people to convert. Historically, Jews have been accused of many different things. You can watch my video on SRA and see some of the things Jews have been accused of. Jews have historically been accused of harming people who aren't in their tribe or pressurizing people to join them. So when you say organised religion is smulty, you're kind of incorporating Judaism into that definition, misrepresenting the religion, and repeating a rhetoric that has been used to oppress Jewish people for centuries. Angelika has unfortunately fell into the trap of just say Christianity, because let's be honest, Angelika, you mean Christianity when you say these things. Christianity preaches the idea of eternal damnation, and Christianity preaches the idea of conversion. I know that Islam has a concept of an eternal damnation, not so sure about the conversion idea, but you get the gist. When you say organised religion, you are referring to the top 3 organised religions, which includes Judaism. So the problems people have with organised religion being smulty is referring to Christianity. Just say Christianity. This doesn't mean that all Christians are terrible. The majority of them, Gucci. Haven't got a problem. Love my Christians. And that's not to say that Judaism can't be harmful to some people. I'm sure people in Judaism have experienced some terrible things because of Judaism and its interpretations. But let's get one thing clear. We don't preach about eternal damnation or conversion. And this is from an ethnic Jew who doesn't even believe in God. From my perspective, this is just a case of ignorance, a lack of research, and fumbled wording. But the next part is something I would definitely consider antisemitism. And let me remind you, antisemitism is any amount of hostility or hatred towards the Jewish people.
Then there was another one where I was apparently saying things against Jewish people. That was being an anti-Semite, which doesn't make sense because I'm Polish. With Jewish people going through a huge tragedy, Polish people went through that tragedy with them. The concentration camps were in Poland. Polish people were...
Yep, you heard that correctly. She cannot be anti-Semitic because she's Polish. Right. Because she's Polish, she can't be anti-Semitic? Let me lay you down a few things. In the 1700s, the partition of Poland occurred, in which Poland was no longer a sovereign state and instead had laws implemented by the increasingly anti-Semitic Russian Empire. The first partition happened in 1772, and the second was officially signed in 1793. Well before the event happened. So it's almost as like she thinks anti-Semitism in Poland began and ended between the years 1941 to 1945. That's 170 years of anti-Semitism in Poland before 1941. Bearing in mind the first ever written form of anti-Semitism was in the 3rd century BCE in Alexandria, Greece, where an Egyptian priest wrote a not-so-nice review of the Jews. So, Angelika, you're telling me that from the 3rd century BCE, leading up to 1772, up until 1941, you went through the exact same thing we did? This was a consensus where Jews were kicked from country to country, accused of horrific crimes and forced from their homes. Let's get on to that part of how the Polish went through the exact same thing, shall we? During the German occupation of Poland, non-Jewish Polish people were permitted to take over Jewish-owned businesses and homes, and therefore the Polish were actually incentivized to inflict violence upon Jewish people. And they did. So here we have it, 2,000 years worth of anti-Semitism, and now in Poland, the Polish, who aren't Jewish, are permitted to take over our businesses and our homes. And we went through the same thing. And let's look at the statistics. 63% of all Jews in Europe were wiped out during the event. That was 50% of the Jewish population of the world. In comparison, 8% of non-Jewish Poles were lost during the event. 63%. Did we go through the same thing? More recently, as of 2019, the Polish government established a law stating that it would be illegal to imply the Polish government and/or people had any compliance within the event, taking away any responsibility or accountability that the Polish government and or its people had in the event. The Ukrainian government had a problem with this law, which would impact Ukrainian-Polish relations, and therefore the penalty of prison was removed from the bill. However, it's still somewhat of a civil offence, and a Polish pair of historians are currently fighting court proceedings for allegedly defaming a Polish official because they stated the facts about what they did. Similar things happened in Polish government when they tried to exonerate themselves from the things that happened in World War II. Another historian was interrogated by police after again implying that Poland had something to do with the event. The government also threatened to strip him of his state honour that he received in 1996. In this case, the 3 million Jews who were lost during World War II within Poland aren't allowed to have their stories told post-mortem by other people because the government won't allow it. Did we go through the same thing? To wrap up this segment, anti-Semitism in Poland did not begin or end during the 1940s. It persisted 2,000 years beforehand and proceeds to exist within Poland. The Polish people were incentivized to get rid of Jews in their local areas for materialistic gain, and did so. Again, when I decided to point this out to Angelika, I found out actually just a couple of weeks ago that she blocked me and has been blocking other Jews for telling her the same thing. Hang on, how did I find out that Angelika had blocked me months after this happened? Because she's still doing the same thing. Although it is not minority-based, I found out that Tipster had been blocked by Angelika for criticising her video regarding James Charles's apology. And she blocked him for criticising her. So when it comes to minority groups, she blocks them, and when it comes to general criticism that is not harsh or hateful in the slightest, she blocks them. There has been no change in behaviour. There has been absolutely nothing that Angelika has taken on board from this, and she continues to block out criticism. She hasn't learned a single solitary thing throughout the entire course of this, and if she's going to block out people randomly just for criticising her, it doesn't make me think that she's actually going to listen to minorities. Angelika blocked black people for correcting her on black issues. She blocked Jewish people for correcting her on Jewish issues. And just a slight thing I would like to ask. Hypothetically, if she were to answer this, it would tell me if she actually knew what she was talking about. As a Polish person, Angelika, what about the 1940s has impacted you to this day as a Polish person? Can you answer that for me? Because 2,000 years of anti-Semitism, as well as the event in the 1940s, has affected me as a Jewish person. So what struggles as a Polish person do you have to this day based on oppression? I'd just love to know. Do Polish people suffer with an increased rate of hate crime against them because they're Polish, like Jewish people do? Do Polish people suffer with governments trying to censor their history and tell their stories like Jewish people do? Just a question. Because from what I can see, Angelika's issues are twofold. Number one, she's ignorant, which is a neutral term, by the way. Ignorance is just a state of not knowing something, being ignorant about something, being in the dark about something. She's not willing to learn, that's the problem. She stays ignorant, she doesn't have the knowledge, and yet she talks about issues with such certainty. The second problem is the avoidance of criticism. She doesn't want to take it, no matter how bad it makes her look. She'll block any minority for trying to correct her. She'll block any person for just correcting her on a video she did. This is the problem with Angelika. She is ignorant and she doesn't want to face the criticism. I hope this wasn't too long and boring for you guys, and take your medication, drink water and stay safe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.